shah. In Somali, by the way, we call shah, which is most of the people eat it with this, which is basically, I don't know if you can see it.
Yep.
It's we call it malawah. So you just basically take a bite and you drink it. So if I say halwa, automatically people know I'm from the south without even saying I'm from the south. I was born in Mogadishu. So
Here we
halwa
go.
is
All
very
right.
popular in Mogadishu.
Ready?
All right, where were we?
Here we are again, drinking our tea and eating our, what was this called again?
Halwa.
Okay.
Halwa shah.
Yep.
I would really like to learn some Somali vocabulary and maybe culture information in order to, I don't know, just help people feel more comfortable, because I know it's super hard to learn English. And Zainab was my teacher.
All right. And your background of teaching is?
So I teach EL English language learners
Yep.
here in Minnesota. I have a license, K to 12. So I was born in Somalia, East Africa, by the border of Ethiopia and Kenya. Fast forward, the Civil War broke out in 1991 in Somalia, and most of people fled. So my family fled to nearby country, which is Ethiopia, and then from Ethiopia, we migrated to Canada. So early 90s, I think it was the end of 93. My family came to Canada, and we were very fortunate because we were the first people who actually escaped from the war. And so we've seen some distractions, but however, a lot of people can tell you worse than what I've seen it. Luckily, the end of 88, my father went to Italy for a better job right before the Civil War, and was there for temporary. He was going to return to Somalia, but because the Civil War broke out, he didn't return. So instead, he went to Canada. So we settled Toronto, Canada, beginning of 94, and lived in Toronto ever since. So I grew up there, went schools there, middle school, high school, college. I graduated from Carleton University in Ottawa, in the capital city of Canada. And upon graduation, I landed a job back in Toronto. So I was a teacher in Toronto. And teaching is something I have a passion about it, because my mom was actually, all I've seen was my mom teaching people how to read Somali language. So then I noticed that a lot of people struggle with the language of English, especially the Somali community, because English is sort of unknown to us. Arabic is okay, Italian is okay, even French is okay, but not so much of English. So then I thought so hard I wanted to become a teacher. Even back in kindergarten, I remember saying that I wanted to become a teacher. And then a lady approached me and said a lot of workers, people, employees are looking to learn the Somali language, or at least some, some vocabularies where they can communicate with the Somalis that they serve. So I had teachers in my classroom. I had doctors. I had a school psychologist. I had principals. I had my first ever teaching Somali. It was this community in Minneapolis Public School, and that one was like 50 people, by the way.
Oh, wow.
So it was very intimidating, like sitting there, like just looking all English speakers. So, but I conquered it, and it went very well. It had a good rating, and then they asked me to do it again, and then again. And so I met a wonderful lady. She was my student in the Somali class, and that's how now this whole thing started. Somali culture, Somali people especially, are struggling, and there are varieties of struggles. They're obviously struggling with the language. They don't speak English, like I've said in the previous one. The English language is unknown to them, so that's a struggle as a newcomer, as an immigrant, to actually learn that, to be able to just make ends meet. A lot of them are not skilled. So we have a lot of struggle in poverty in Minnesota. You would think, poverty only exists in Africa, but you could find it right here in Minnesota, close to the heart. And so there's a lot of struggle. And because they struggle financially, then they go to, they live in a neighborhood where there's a lot of violence happening because of the rent being too high in clean neighborhoods. So that is another problem that we're facing. A lot of our youths are getting into gangs, they're getting into trouble because they're assimilating into poor neighborhoods. There's a lot of problem in that as well, and it stems from economics, because of the money and not being skilled enough to in a workplace. But we're also facing a major struggle, which is obviously the Islamic part of it. We are 99% Muslims. And as you can see, the media nowadays with the Trump banning it, there's a lot of struggle in the Somali community. There's a fear. There's a huge fear. Even though I grew up in Canada and can speak English and I'm skilled, I still have that fear in me. You gotta look at your shoulders because you really don't know how many people do hate you. Recently, we know that New Zealand shooting mosque, and so there's things like that fear the community are in total turmoil like we are, and so the struggle is real. It's very apparent because so many deaths are coming from everywhere, and loved ones are also divided because there are a lot of families that were supposed to be coming from Somalia to US for a better life, and because of the Trump banning it, were stopped. So now you have that division. My neighbor actually, he's a male and his wife and 2 children are back in Somalia, and right before Trump got elected, they were very close to the immigration, and now it's all gone. So they had to go back to their rural area in Somalia, and the man is in despair. I can see his face every day, the sadness in him. And so that struggle as well. We are struggling immigration, poverty, like I said, language. Education also, it's another struggle. I'm a teacher. I teach the St. Paul charter schools. And so education, in the Somali education, it's, back home was extremely different than here. So Somalis are known, they're used to the system that don't ask parents to be part of the child's life, basically. The teachers were able to do everything for the parents, the neighbors, everything. It was kind of like a village. So I've never actually got called where I didn't complete my homework. My mom never got called and said, hey, today Zainab completed, back in Somalia I'm talking about. So that part is new. Whenever we call, they're just like, oh, you're calling me, so that there's a lot of lack of understanding. And also the way we discipline back in Somalia is completely different here. So the child actually, the students would do their work, their assigned work, without the parents, putting emphasis, without the parents telling them to do so. And the reason being is, to be honest, you get punished for it.
Yeah, exactly.
And because you get punished, you have that fear of being punished, that you would do things on your own. So parents had that huge thing off their shoulders, that they didn't have to worry about the education part of it. And so if you see if it's anybody who is in the education system, whether you're a teacher or administration or anybody, and you're confused as to why a lot of Somali parents are not engaging, know this. The system back home is completely different. There's a lack of understanding. It's not because they don't want to be part of their children's life. They do. Really, they honestly do. It's just they don't know how to go about it. And that's one of the things I do a lot of professional development at the beginning of school year. Minneapolis Public School actually did hire me to do that. I do that for them as well, just to kind of understand where are these communities are coming from. How were they back home? And don't forget also, there's a lot of PTS. A lot of our students are coming with the PTS, or coming from refugee camps. They've seen loved ones being killed. They've seen loved ones being raped. They too themselves can be raped. It's a lot of things that are going on. So there's, in the midst of all these obstacles in the U.S. right now, we have more on it. We see how our country is being divided, the Democrats and Republicans. There's a lot of issues that's going on. I can speak the English language. I can communicate with you, but at the same time, at the end of the day, I do fear, because I am wearing a scarf, by the way. I'm very apparent, as you can see. I have this scarf, which is called the hijab. And I am not white, I'm also black, so that's another one. So I have a race, I have faith factor, and I'm also female. I might as well have a target at the back of my, my back sign that's saying I'm a target, because I have all. Gender doesn't help me because I'm a female. So I also come from a Somali, which is very male-dominant country. The community is very male-dominant. So a lot of Somali men, I can get issues with them. I try to explain things to them. They don't want to hear me because, again, I'm a female. You can see that. Also, race is a big factor here in America. That's a huge thing. And also, being immigrant. I'm an immigrant. You can see it. I have the scarf. I was not born here. And I pay my taxes. I'm just a normal person. I wake up 6 in the morning every day. I go to work. But at the same time, a lot of people have this misconception that, we are here sitting home collecting welfare. That's not. I've never seen a welfare check in my life. So it's a lot of a misunderstanding and myths that's out there about the Somali community. We are very hard workers. Despite all these obstacles that we face, we wake up every morning to put food on our table. Being me, single parent of 2 children. I am raising 7-year-old daughter and 9-year-old boy. So on my own, and I've been doing it for the last 7 years. So it's very difficult, and also divorce rate in the Somali community is very high. You're looking about 80%, and reason being is also the system of marriage has changed. Now you have the women who are becoming breadwinners. You have, the roles are switching, and you don't have enough assistance. Somali back home is you live with the extended families. I lived with my grandparents. My mom didn't have to look for no babysitter. Things have changed. We don't have that extended family. My uncle is not living with me. My aunt is not living with me. My grandparents are not living with me. So roles are very changing in the family. It's becoming more nuclear than extended. And that's also another issue that the Somali community is also facing. That's why you have a high divorce rate. Men are not used to this kind of stuff, so they walk away from their children, and now you have the women taking care of it. And also becoming, going to work. Actually, our females are struggling more than ever. For everything. So I went back to school. Despite being a single mother, I went back to St. Thomas University to get my master's degree in education, and it was a struggle. I was a full-time student, full-time working, full-time being mom, but I was also motivated to do this for my children, for myself, for my community, for everyone. I wanted this for me, first and most. I wanted to be more skilled. I wanted to understand more. I'm passionate about it, and once you're passionate about it, nothing can really truly stop. I went through a lot of bumpy roads, but at the end of the tunnel there was a light. And also I wanted my son to see that, and my daughter to see that, like how hard I work, and I don't ever want my, especially my son. I don't ever want him quitting on me. I wanted him to be strong, and if he sees that, then that would help him. It's and domestic violence, by the way, in the Somali community is huge. However, it's unknown because no one speaks about it. Nobody seeks help. The women suffer. They stay because of their children, because the back of their head they said, my kids have to have a father. Yes, I do believe that too. My kids have to have a father, but I had no job. I had no money to my name, and I went to shelter. To be honest, I had no penny in my purse when I left that house. I literally left with one abaya, what I'm wearing, a dress, a Somali dress. And that was it. And I had my son, 6 months pregnant, and I left that house. Not everyone will do that, So the 2 things that are very quiet about it is mental health, getting help in depression, getting help in anxiety. We have all that stuff, but it's unknown. And it's also because the way the system was back home was very, male system, and because it's very patriarchal, secretive what's going on. So females suffer all the time. Somali women all the time suffer, but no one, seeks help for it. And that's another thing that I'm passionate about it. That's actually my volunteer basis of it. So I had a woman in my house about a month ago who fled for domestic violence. I housed her and got her shelter afterwards and got her help. So I'm doing that on the side, despite all these, stuff I have on my plate, because I don't want anyone else to suffer. I understand. And it takes time. Even in U.S., I talk to all my white allies, and they always tell me, 100 years ago, nobody knew this. So we'll get there. It's just a matter of time. But right now, it's not enough.
Yeah, time and people like you speaking up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There you go. I need that help. If I didn't get that counseling, I don't think I would be where I am today. So I'm grateful, very gratitude to that. And I tell all my Somali women, whoever needs help, go seek it.
Well, anything else you want to share?
I think it's enough said, but
it's
thank you guys
said very,
for watching
very well.
it.
And you are a very strong woman,
Yeah.
and thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you. I appreciate it for allowing me to speak.